Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate that intro. And I want to just start by saying thank you so much, ARTSLab, for having me. I can't see into the box, but thank you so much. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, crew. I'm really grateful to be back here. I always love coming home. And it's a nice, perfect time of year to be here because I really haven't seen the sun for like 5 months in Michigan. So I'm really grateful for the large skies and the sunshine. It peaks out every once in a while. So I am just going to go through a little bit of my work with you this evening. It was such a joy to actually just be able to compile some of this into one thought bubble for an hour. In general, my work just kind of moves in and out of digital and live, and I'm just never satisfied. And so I keep jumping back and forth and trying to find new ways to integrate the things. And so, yeah, I'm just going to take you on a little journey this evening through some of that. My work exists at the intersection of physical movement and digital realms, hence the term phygital, which is physical and digital. Phygital Dance Lab is just a thing that I started. I'm the founder and artistic director of it, and it's just for experimentation of innovation and anything that intersects with movement and technology and humans. I'm interested. I challenge conventional boundaries between what we perceive as real versus surreal, and this exploration happens through transdisciplinary collaboration both on stage and in virtual spaces, creating dialogues between seemingly disparate worlds. Movement is our most primal language, one that precedes verbal communication and remains a constant throughout our lives. As a choreographer, performer, educator, and mother, I have witnessed how this embodied language transcends barriers that words often cannot. My journey as a mother has profoundly influenced my artistic perspective, revealing new dimensions of how we communicate through our physical presence and how technology can both enhance and complicate these connections. My creative practice integrates dance with emerging technologies to cultivate innovative approaches to choreography and performance. By viewing the body as our original technology, a sophisticated system of interconnected networks, energies, and intelligence, I explore its evolving relationship with digital innovations. This investigation probes deeper questions about human existence in our increasingly mediated world. How do our digital extensions reshape our understanding of embodiment? What aspects of human experience remain untranslatable to digital form? My boundary-pushing collaborations merge dance with film, animation, and interactive media, creating immersive experiences that have been presented throughout North America, Europe, and Asia. And these multimedia works take various forms: live performance, screen dance, choreographic installations, each of them offering a unique perspective on how technology transforms our relationship with space, time, and each other. In today's world, where technology permeates nearly every aspect of our daily lives, I believe we must critically examine how these tools shape our artistic expression and bodily knowledge. We'll investigate how digital tools can serve as extensions of our embodied knowledge rather than replacements for it. We will also examine how both creative opportunities these technologies offer and the ethical questions they raise. How do we maintain authentic human connection in digitally mediated performance? What happens to spontaneity and ephemerality that makes live performance so powerful? How might we use technology not just as a spectacle, but as a meaningful layer in our artistic communication? The human body itself possesses an adaptability and integrated intelligence that surpasses many of our most advanced technological innovations today. Its system of sensation, perception, and response form an intricate network that technology can augment but never fully replicate. When we incorporate digital elements into dance, we are engaging in a dialogue between these different forms of intelligence, creating a third space where new possibilities emerge. Later in our session, you will experience this integration firsthand through a very brief interactive exercise that demonstrates how these principles function in practice. By directly engaging with these concepts, I hope you'll gain a more nuanced understanding of how physical and digital realms can inform and transform each other. Before I dive into some of my work, I want to just brief through a little bit of dance tech landscape because I think it's worth mentioning a few names and how they were working, whether it was intentional or not, towards a world that we're in currently. The timeline is interesting, how it kind of bobs and weaves and has influenced my own work. So I wanted to start there before we dive into the work. I would like to start with Loie Fuller. She's one of the most influential dance artists of the 20th century, and she pioneered the intersection of body technology with external technological innovations in the 1890s. She was actually an actress and a skirt dancer from Chicago, and she fully revolutionized dance by experimenting with the newly available lighting, instruments, combining colored light with silk fabric and movement to create transformative natural images on stage. Her signature works, Fire Dance, Night, and Lily of the Nile, were first performed in 1896 and made her the embodiment of the Art Nouveau movement in France. What makes her particularly relevant to our conversation today is how she approached technology. Unlike her contemporaries, Isadora Duncan and Ruth St. Denis, who established schools to preserve their legacy, Fuller zealously guarded her technological innovation from imitators. She understood that light could transform fabric, movement, time, and space into something otherworldly, yet the human form remained the essential conduit for this transformation. In many ways, Fuller was the first phygital artist, creating experiences where the physical and digital elements were inseparable. This integration of technology and human expression shares philosophical roots with many surrealist artists who have influenced me and my practice. André Breton's 1924 Surrealist Manifesto declared the intention to resolve the previously contradictory conditions of dream and reality into an absolute reality, a super reality. This mission resonates deeply with my own work at Phygital Dance Lab, where I aim to create the practices and performances that blend the physical and digital into unified experience that transcends the conventional boundaries. Laszlo Moholy-Nagy, another artist that has just influenced my work with light and shadow very much, is fascinating to me. He experimented with light, motion, and technology in the Bauhaus in the 1920s and established a framework for integrating mechanical processes with the human creativity. His light, space, modular, and photograms explored how technology could extend artistic vision beyond human limitations while maintaining human intention at its core, a balance that I continually seek in my own work. Man Ray and René Magritte are also artists that have influenced me. Subversions of expected reality offer strategies for how we might approach the digital realm today, not as a replacement for physical reality, but as a space where our understanding of the body and its relationship to space can be reimagined. Magritte's work reminds us that representations, whether paint on canvas or digital avatars, exist in dialogue with rather than in place of the material world. The women of surrealism, particularly Leonora Carrington and Dorothy Tanning, offer additional insights into how we might approach technology and dance. Their works often feature metamorphosizing bodies and hybrid creatures navigating dreamlike landscapes. Visual strategies that resonate with how digital technology allows us to extend and transform the dancing body. Carrington's hybrid figures and Tanning's exploration of thresholds between worlds inform how I approach liminality of digital physical dance spaces. I would be remiss if I did not mention Maya Deren, one of my all-time inspirations to make work. In a similar vein, Maya Deren's experimental films of the 1940s and 50s explored the relationship between the human body and manipulated time and space through innovative editing techniques. Her work, A Study in Choreography for Camera, is considered an early example of choreo-cinema, where the camera and the dancer's movements are intimately linked and choreographed together. Tali Beatty's performance is not simply a dance, but a collaborative effort with the camera, creating a new sense of space and time on film. The lineage continues through the 20th century, from Alwyn Nicolai's mid-century postmodern light projections and coining the term of multimedia, to Merce Cunningham's profound influence on my work. Cunningham used Lifeform software in the 1990s, and it demonstrated how technology could extend choreographic possibilities. At the age of 70, he was not replacing his movement knowledge, but exploring what his aging body could no longer physically access. His chance operations created a framework for human technology collaboration that enhanced rather than diminished the human element. Merce Cunningham used to say, "It's when dancing gets awkward that it starts getting interesting." Cunningham's masterwork Biped in 1999, created when he was 80 years old, represents the culmination of his technological explorations. He began using life forms in 1989, software developed at Simon Fraser University that portrayed 3D human figures with movable joints capable of various movements, spins, jumps, leaps, reaches, and bends. William Forsythe's work has also deeply informed my approach to technology and choreography. His unique use of the 27 points in space, originally created by Rudolf Laban, and concept of choreographic objects, installations, and films that translate dance thinking beyond the body, demonstrates how dance knowledge can inhabit digital and physical spaces simultaneously, creating new possibilities for audience engagement and with choreographic principles. The trajectory accelerated with artists like Bill T. Jones, whose ghost-catching collaboration in 1999 with digital artist Paul Kaiser and Shelley Eshkar used motion capture to create one of the very early digital dance works. Troika Ranch is a multimedia dance company on the West Coast. Their integration of real-time interactive systems in the early 2000s further expanded possibilities for live performances to control their digital environments. Their Me Dance system, which allowed dancers to trigger and manipulate sound and video elements in real time, exemplifies the kind of reciprocal relationship between technology and human expression that informs my own practice. Central to Troika Ranch's work was the creation of Isadora Software, a graphic programming environment released in 2000 by company co-founder Mark Caniglio. This proprietary software, compatible with both Mac OS X and Windows, was specifically designed for real-time digital video manipulation and performance contexts. Supporting open sound control and MIDI, Isadora still provides artists with an intuitive interface that enables live interactive media performances without requiring extensive technical expertise. Its early influence extended beyond dance to interactive installations and theatrical productions, democratizing access to responsive digital environments that could dynamically interact with performers. And finally, Arcos Dance, a multimedia dance company that originated in Santa Fe, New Mexico, they are now located in Austin, Texas, has brilliantly explored the intersection of performance technology and social practice in ways that center human experience while embracing technological innovation. Their transmedia projects demonstrate how digital tools can enhance rather than replace embodied knowledge, another crucial influence on my approach. Today, we're witnessing exponential growth in tools available to choreographers, sophisticated motion capture, AI, augmented reality, virtual reality, and more. These tools arrive with both promise and peril. At their best, they extend our creative voice, allowing the body's expressions to echo across the digital realms. At their worst, they can overshadow the human element, prioritizing technical novelty over artistic substance. The question becomes not whether to use these tools, but how to employ them in service of human expression rather than as a replacement for it. In my practice, I view technology as a collaborator rather than as a substitute, a means of amplifying the poetry that exists between breath and binary. The human-first approach becomes increasingly vital as we face unprecedented ecological and social changes. As we'll see in some of my collaborative work, like Chimeras of the Kinesphere and Frozen Fields' Unexpected Growth, technology can help us visualize new relationships between humans and our environment, imagining futures that might otherwise remain abstract. Yet, like the artist mentioned earlier, whose work remains deeply connected to the natural forms and movement qualities despite its technological innovation, these contemporary explorations still center on the human body's wisdom and expressivity. My journey as an artist began with classical ballet training that eventually transitioned into contemporary dance that later led me down a path of an international concert dance performance career, as well as receiving a BFA and an MFA. But what has shaped my work most significantly is my fascination with how the human body, our primary technology, communicates across different mediums and environments. I approach movement with an awareness of the body as a sophisticated system of adaptation and expression. In technique and choreography, I address the body as an integrated network of systems rather than isolated parts, a perspective that has profoundly informed how I integrate external technologies into my choreographic practice. Through many styles of dance, I work with a dynamic balance in spatial awareness and dynamic weight shifts, all utilizing the body's intrinsic technological systems, proprioception, kinesthetic awareness, and neurological feedback loops. When I introduce digital technologies into my work, I approach them as extensions of these bodily systems rather than replacements for them. The digital becomes another layer through which the body's intelligence can manifest and communicate. My work with Digital Dance Lab serves as an incubator for experimentation, particularly in collaboration with other artists whose work intersects with movement and technology. Most recently, I have collaborated with interactive media specialist Kevin Abbott, new media artist Eric Souther, and visual artist Jacqueline Brickman. Together, we have explored how motion capture technology and digital manipulation can create new choreographic languages without losing the visceral humanity at dance's core. Drawing from surrealist and contemporary methodologies, my creative process often embraces elements of automatism and chance, as well as writing, photography, videography, motion capture, AI, VR, and emerging technologies, allowing unexpected connections between digital and physical elements to emerge. Like Breton's call to liberate the imagination from the constraints of reason, we seek moments where technology and the body create surprising new meanings together. The surrealist techniques of juxtaposition and defamiliarization inform how we place physical bodies in dialogue with their digital counterparts, creating what Magritte might recognize as productive contradictions that reveal new truths about embodied experience in the digital age. In my most recent collaboration, Chimeras of the Kinesphere, Eric Souther and I explored the extension of the mediated body by choreographing human movement for digital avatars that became sites for artificially generated images. This work responds directly to the climate crisis by reimagining our relationship with nature, proposing a hybridization, a second nature, that challenges us to reconsider our role in shaping a sustainable future while keeping human experience at its center. The chimeric creatures that emerge in this work echo Carrington and Tanning's surrealist hybrids, suggesting new forms of embodiment across human-technology divide. While we experimented with AI, animation, motion capture, and original sound composition. This work was originally premiered as a live solo with projected avatars at the Seoul International Dance Festival in Tank in Seoul, Korea in October 2024. This work now lives as a digital work online. I'll share some excerpts with you. Sorry. Clunky technology, excuse me. All right. I'll bring you a little bit closer to the end here. Show you where it goes. The next work that I've collaborated on is called Stranger. It's an animated dance film that I created with Kevin Abbott, which combines motion capture with geometric visuals and brutalist architecture to explore confinement, freedom, and the human condition through abstract choreography. What fascinates me about this work is how the dancers eventually merge into a unified entity, symbolizing our fundamental interconnectedness, a theme that feels increasingly important in our technologically mediated world. During the pandemic, Kevin and I created a work called Recode. It became a way to examine the dualistic identities that we all experienced, physical and virtual presences that sometimes aligned and sometimes were fragmented. We used film and motion capture, and we explored how information can be lost, glitched, or broken down through our suddenly limited modes of communication, transforming how humans interact with each other and themselves. This work embrace of the glitch as a creative potential draws from the surrealist principle that accidents and mistakes often reveal deeper truths that consciously construct works. Recode is a screen dance that is a mixture of dance film and motion capture. Another recent work that I've collaborated on is called Frozen Fields: Unexpected Growth. At the heart of my practice is a deep belief in the power of embodied collaboration. When we move with others, we engage in a profound form of communication, sharing movement vocabularies that are uniquely individual yet collectively resonant. Moving like someone else isn't mere imitation, it's an act of empathy, a physical listening that allows us to temporarily inhabit another's experience. This principle extends to how I approach technology, not as a replacement for human connection, but as a medium through which embodied knowledge can be translated. Frozen Fields, Unexpected Growth is a multimedia live performance framed as a report from the fictional Cryospeculation Laboratory at the Department of Planetary Futures. This mediates on time, space, and the preservation of life. In this work, agents traverse the laboratory amongst layers of time, former and future selves, to process and preserve grass via methods of dissection, archivation, and cryopreservation. This piece approaches ecological art through an absurdist lens, combining sound, experimental animation, bodily movement, and real-time performance to question our relationship with preservation and growth. Projected ghostly figures echo the motions of live dancers, presenting alternate existences through layered dimensions, a physical manifestation of how technology can extend and reflect human presence rather than replace it. The dreamlike quality of this work, with its collapsing of time and space, owes much to the surrealist approaches to reality, particularly Magritte's subversion of logical space and Tanning's exploration of thresholds between worlds. This video is a compilation of the live performance and the digital work that is edited together by Jacqueline Brickman. I like to use technology as a creative partner. This goes for my own performance and choreography, as well as with my students inside of curriculum, trying to push them to experiment and play with new ideas that are possible to them. In the evolving landscape of artistic expression, technology is transformed from mere tool to creative collaborator, a partner that both challenges and extends our artistic voice. Like any meaningful partnership, this relationship thrives on mutual exchange rather than dominance. When we engage with technology not as a replacement for embodied knowledge, but as a dynamic interlocutor, we discover possibilities that neither human nor machine could achieve alone. In my composition and technology class, which is actually an undergraduate choreography class in our curriculum, we play with all different tools of technology: film, AI, VR, AR, motion capture. So I'm going to, I encourage my students to play, be messy, and fail, because those are the absolute best things that you can find in the creative process. So I have a few videos of a project that we did this last spring in composition and technology. This is on our virtual imaging technology lab called Vital. And here what you're going to see are dancers interacting and playing with digital forms controlled by the motion capture markers placed on the caps that they're wearing. So I don't know if you can see it, but they're all wearing caps. They've got some motion capture markers. And Kevin and his team and I worked to decide what those markers would control. So we motion captured the avatar that you'll see in the background, so it's already recorded data and choreography. And then the dancers have caps that will control either light, sound, manipulate the avatar in real time. So they can, depending on where they are in space, they can manipulate the speed of the avatar, or they can manipulate the spotlight on the screen, or they can manipulate sound to move faster or slower. Some of these dancers, we have two that are controlling one thing, so it depends how close or far they are in space. We have one dancer that is controlling the avatar, so her distance is set from her to the screen. And so that then dominates how the speed is manipulated. Good. So this also pushes them to be interacting with their physical space and also the digital space and the space, each other, time. There's so much going on, right, with these experimentations. So this was a really fun challenge to bring to them as like a integration of live and virtual. This is another playful moment where the caps were connected to digital objects on the screen, and they're manipulating the motion. And they're close together, so they both have sound caps also, so you can hear the sound that's really, really slowed down in time. And then lastly, we get to play with fun, just creation of digital avatars, which always dives into these deep conversations around identity with the students. What do we want it to look like, right? And we're off, yeah. All right. I'm going to quickly move through these last few slides here. In fall 23, I had the honor of going to this choreographic coding lab that's put on by Motion Bank. They put it on all around the world. My lab was in Germany, and it's anybody that's excited about movement intersecting with technology. So it's creative coders, it's sound engineers, it's filmmakers, choreographers, dancers, etc., getting together for 5 days, not to have anything in product, but to just play around and exchange ideas with one another. During this time, I met a creative coder from Switzerland that was working on the creation of a software, Daniel Bissig, and he was working with a dancer and motion capture data, uploading it into a program, and the program learns the movement and it has many different phases, but the phase that we were playing with was called movement continuation, where the machine learned the movement and then it started to assume what it thought you were going to do next, and so it started to choreograph. And so I realize this just looks like a stick figure moving around, but this is data that we input from one of my motion capture sessions that I had done with Kevin back in Michigan. And I took with me, and we uploaded it, and we went to the movement continuation. So this is kind of a hybrid of my own movement and then the machine's creation and choreography. So it's a bit of a collaboration here. And for anybody that cares about this nerdy stuff, they use Laban language as parameters, effort, flow, right? Like this language that speaks to human and machine, which I think is really interesting. Like this, like cool new, even like a repurposing of that language. That was cool. Okay. And finally, through Merce Cunningham inspiration, Kevin and I we started creating a software program together that we have to come back to. We've been doing a lot of things. We start a lot of things. So this is kind of a work in progress. But very much like the idea and the intention behind this was just to potentially have a tool for choreographers when they didn't have space and they didn't have human bodies, because it is time, it is resources, it is scheduling, it is all of the things. And so if you don't have that luxury, can you create a dance and then go into a space and set it to just help resources flow and it be more accessible and easy to work. So this is a tutorial video. I'm just going to pop through a little bit of it so you can kind of see what this program does. So create avatars, you can put them anywhere.
So this lets you add or start block, so this preview, and that's everything in place.
You can change, we have sound uploaded. We worked with a composer to create different sound blocks for us. And then we also are working with lighting, so you can really consider your space. Keep bumping here so you can mess with all of this. and change your lighting. So maybe ideally you could potentially go with a whole proscenium plan or otherwise on a different site, and prepare with less rehearsals, less time, less resources. The hiccup that we hit that I think goes into all of the just all of the conversation around whose work is it and is this open access is we created library banks for the music and for the movement. And we started this with just a bunch of like captures of like different movement phrases that I had. And then we're looking at it and I'm going, why would any choreographer want to use a program that only has one person's movement in it? So then how could how could we open this up to, right, choreographers to maybe contribute? Would they allow it? So maybe it's a universal library. I don't know. So this is where we stopped. This is where we got stuck, because I think we got caught up in some of the ethics of it and also the practicality, like, do we actually use this thing? Is it just easier to go in the studio and work with real bodies? So it's a lot of more questions than answers, but just another project we're working on, inspired by all of those lovely artists that came before. So thank you for listening. I appreciate you coming.